and it's looking a little more likely that we will see hurricane force winds. Okay, and there is the 10 o'clock advisory that is just coming in now. Winds, wow, the pressure has fallen even more to 964, and they have not increased the winds. The winds remain at 105 miles an hour. I'm just kind of reading the information as it is literally coming in at the moment. So now you're looking at the center of the storm, only 145 miles to the south-southeast of the mouth of the river. Winds of 105 miles an hour. That is really interesting because we have clearly seen an intensifying storm literally all day today. And since the 4, the 7, and now the 10 o'clock advisory, the winds remain the same at 105 miles an hour. So as I said, this is literally just coming in. The pressure has fallen a bit more to 964. We had already said that about an hour or so ago, a little more than that, the reconnaissance flights that were going through the center of the storm were already finding lower pressure. So it was not a surprise that the pressures came down. Just very interesting. I'm guessing that the hurricane hunters are able to only find winds of 105 miles an hour, which again is good. It is still a Category 2 storm, still well on its way to becoming a 3. Very surprised not to see that as a 3 now, but we'll take it. The thunderstorm development around the center continues to look very healthy and continues to intensify. So let's take a look at the new track. It does have it as a 4 by early tomorrow morning. So even though it is still a 2, the intensity forecast remains the same. And then coming inland around say kind of the same. Again, nothing has dramatically changed all that much. Again, the track is a little bit more to the east now of even Houma and still near Baton Rouge, but maybe just to the east. Again, this was a very slight jog to the east. This was not a dramatic jog by any means, but enough so that it does now place New Orleans a bit closer to the center of the storm, certainly more so across the river parishes, and more of a likelihood and a higher chance now. If you were with us earlier before this information came out, did you remember the percentages for hurricane force winds in the city did start to go up? So it looked like the models were already starting to trend that way. So again, it still looks like we are going to see minimal hurricane force winds, but hurricane force winds nonetheless in Metro New Orleans. So we are likely going to see now, based on this new track, which has shifted a little bit more to the east, the high likelihood of hurricane force winds, that's 75 or greater in the metro area. Again, not really surprised. We were always right on the cusp of that happening. So the new information is now just only 145 miles to the south-southeast of the mouth of the river. The forward motion has not changed. Northwest at 16. The pressure has fallen, but the winds are holding at 105. And there was no change in thinking that this will make landfall as a Category 4 storm. And again, the reason why I like showing that center line is because it really does give you a much clearer picture as to which way the hurricane center has been changing in their thinking. And from earlier today, it was more west of Baton Rouge. Then we saw it sitting over Baton Rouge, and now it may be a little bit more to the east of Baton Rouge. So I would say, and as the discussion just came in from the Weather Service office locally in Slidell, there are now pretty much equal chances for hurricane force winds across both Baton Rouge and New Orleans at this time. And again, there's probably not going to be a more dramatic change in the forecast as the models have been trending. As I even said, it seemed like they were kind of trending a little bit more to the east, not dramatic, but it really was not needed to have a dramatic shift in the models or a shift in the forecast track from the Hurricane Center to bring those hurricane force winds over the city of New Orleans. And there were already models that were showing that potential. It was just kind of a wait and see if the Hurricane Center was going to jump on board with that or not, and it looks like they have. Rainfall is going to start moving in throughout the overnight and into more so through the day tomorrow, and at times some very heavy tropical downpours that kind of just never let up, but especially if you find yourself underneath one of these bands that begins moving through. Heavy to the rainfall, obviously a little bit near the center, but as that center is trending a little closer to us, that does place more of Metro New Orleans under a risk of maybe the 10 to 15 inches of rainfall and maybe some localized areas of 20 inches. So now flooding, although it was already a high concern across all of southeast Louisiana, including metro New Orleans, that may be a little bit greater if the storm center is a bit closer to us during the day tomorrow, right up to and after landfall as it moves inland. So again, this is the European model forecast for the wind field. And I was showing you this even before the models really jumped on that and before the Hurricane Center said you were already seeing these yellows to almost the major hurricane force winds across the metropolitan area. Now, I don't know if that major hurricane wind field is going to be that large as the storm is that far inland. It'll be interesting to see just what the wind field does as it starts to near the coast. But certainly at this time, we are going to see hurricane force winds here in the city as we go into the day tomorrow. As I'd mentioned, the percentages had come up. The earlier run of this model had us at around 40 or some odd percent. They now jumped up to 57 and really now equal chances of at least hurricane force winds. Obviously, the winds are going to be far greater south and then west of the city, but now the city could easily see those hurricane force winds as the winds are already starting to pick up. Main Pass, not far out off the mouth of the river. Winds are sustained at 41, gusting up to almost 50. Sustained winds of 30, gusting to almost 38 miles an hour as the center is now closing in on these buoys and oil platforms that are not too far off of the mouth of the Mississippi River. The forecast as well, because of that, again, really the change in the center line really doesn't change our outlook for a tornado risk as we get into the day tomorrow. There are going to be some tornadoes. There are going to be several warnings that are going to be issued throughout the course of the day tomorrow and even into the overnight hours going into early Monday. As I also said, the thinking, again, has not really changed in terms of the intensity at landfall. It did jog a little bit more our way, but the forecast for the storm surge has not really changed. What really has changed more than anything for metro New Orleans is likely see higher rainfall totals now, or at least that chance is greater, as well as a greater chance of seeing sustained hurricane force winds in the city. With that said, it is still going to be a devastating storm to the areas that are right within the path of the center of the storm making landfall. City of New Orleans, we have survived worse. We have gone through hurricane force winds many, many times. Remember, Zeta passed right over us as a Category 3. It was weakening at that point, but it passed directly over the city of New Orleans. This storm is not going to be passing over the city of New Orleans. It looks like this is going to stay just to our west, but we will certainly see at least winds of 75 miles per hour. The inundation of water, again, that has not changed either. Really, the only things that have changed now are the potential to see some of this 10 to 15 or more amounts of rain, a little bit more over parts of metro New Orleans and even parts of the North Shore. So that bullseye or that band of the heaviest amount of rainfall has shifted a little bit more to the east because of that new trend in the track to bring it a little bit more to the east as well. And I'm going to kind of jump back here on graphics because I want to show you as well. One of my first graphics that we had been using was showing the forecasted track and where the storm had actually been trending. This is one that we can now show you because the center of the storm is almost totally within radar range, and we'll be watching this to see if it does indeed follow along that track. Even going back to our earlier satellite imagery, it certainly looked like it was pretty closely following this track. So I guess it's just based on the model kind of slight adjustment to the east is what warranted the Hurricane Center to make that adjustment as well. And it's certainly something that we'll be watching very closely. As I mentioned, it really doesn't change a whole lot. We're going to see damaging winds in the city of New Orleans. They may be a little bit stronger than what we were anticipating earlier this afternoon, but we are still expecting a very damaging storm to move through southeast Louisiana.